and welcome back. My name is India and I happen to read a lot, and despite the fact that we are still firmly in the summer, I'm fucking over it. I'm over it. I want this documented for everyone to see that I'm over the summer. I don't know what it is about this. Maybe it's because I've just been working and I haven't done much this summer, but I'm over it. Because summer is so shit and I want it to be over, I am looking towards autumn. I'm looking towards autumn a lot earlier than I looked towards summer last time. And I thought the best way to look towards a season is to just pick some books that I think perfectly emulate the season and that you should read, and 5 books that I think perfectly emulate the season that I want to read. I give you some recommendations, you hopefully take something away and you love it. It's an autumn recommendations video. So yes, as I said, I'm done with summer, I'm welcoming autumn. I think it's just getting to the point where why am I hot at work? Why, when I'm running up and down the stairs and speaking to 7,000 people, why am I hot? I should be in a cozy... What I picture when people see me in a bookstore is sexy librarian. Do you know what I mean? I want my tights, my cute boots, my nice jumper. I'm sweating and it's not working for me. I'm looking forward to the Burr months, as someone called it on TikTok, and I'm over it. I'm over it. I don't want to be in the summer anymore. So we're going to start off, the way that I do my recommendation videos is that I recommend 5 books that I've read and loved, and then I end the video with 5 books that I really desperately want to read. And there's not much more to say, so we're just going to jump into it. So starting off, we have the 5 books that I have read this month. When I think of autumn, I do think of, I'm kind of basic with how I think autumn. I think gothic castles, colder weather, warm fires, just a lot more of darker, I think like spring and summer I feel like are more light-hearted, bright stories. Autumn and winter are for those dark, gloomy stories where you just want to be cuddled up with a blanket, have a fire going, some hot chocolate, and you just want to get lost in like fantasy worlds. I feel murder mysteries and fantasy is always where it's at for me. I mean, I say that's basically what I read, but especially in the Burr months, I just want a dark fantasy. That's all I want, really. But we're going to go through some of my absolute faves. Let's jump into the 5 books that I have read that I think perfectly emulate autumn, and I think you should definitely read these if you're trying to get into the autumn vibe. So first up, we have The Girl from the Other Side by Maybeeee. I think this has been spoken about so many times, but this is such an incredible series. This is set in a world where you have kind of like the outside world, which is roamed by these humanoid monsters, other kinds of monsters, but a lot of humanoid monsters, where if they touch you, you turn into one of these humanoid monsters. And then you have the inside, which is where the remaining people of humanity live. And one day this little girl finds herself outside of the walls, very Attack on Titan, if you will, and is just roaming around the woods, lost. She's lost, it's either her grandma or her auntie, I can't remember, I think it's her auntie. She's lost her, she doesn't know what she's doing, and she comes across this humanoid monster whose name I have forgotten, so sorry. And they develop this really lovely friendship. It's giving one of my favourite tropes, disgruntled guardian and this child they seem to have taken under their wing. And the whole series is just them kind of understanding things about her, developing their kind of fatherly relationship. It's a really, really beautiful story, but the art style is really, really good. It's spooky, it's gothic, the story is amazing. It's just perfect. A perfect quick read for the autumn. Then we have, and I'm sorry, I've only got a proof copy. I read this in the summer. I'm pretty sure I read this in the summer. Even though this is definitely an autumn book, I remember reading it at my mum's house and like being really, really warm. So I don't know why. I was not getting the atmosphere, was not getting the aesthetics of this book. But this is House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. Alexis Henderson's 3rd book, I think it's her 3rd book, Academy for Lies, is currently on my 26 book story before I turn 26. Check out that video. But this is her 2nd book that she brought out. She also brought out The Year of the Witching, which is incredible, but House of Hunger is my favourite one. Inspired by Elizabeth of Bathory, which is one of my all-time favourite Lore episodes, and a very, very old episode of the podcast Lore. I remember walking to college one day, listening to it. It was absolutely incredible, spooky, gothic tale. Inspired by that. So this story follows Marion. Marion is our main character who applies for the job at the elusive House of Hunger. She doesn't really know what the job is about, just that her title is a blood maid, and that's all she knows. Take from that what you will. I can't remember what you're supposed to know or not, so I'm not going to say too much. But she accepts this position. She meets these very unlikely women who are all kind of competing against each other for the favoured position of attending to the Countess Elizabeth, is that her name? Countess Elizabeth, who is this very sexy, seductive, alluring, regal woman, and they kind of intrigue each other. It's sapphic. I really don't want to say too much because I cannot remember what you are supposed to know, but it's a gorgeous, seductive, sapphic, spooky, atmospheric story. It's very psychologically interesting. I need to reread this because I loved it so much, and I don't normally reread books, but this is a book I would desperately reread. It is just so incredibly, just psychologically beautiful. I feel like Guillermo del Toro would do an amazing job at adapting this into a movie, and I would literally put my left kidney to watch that. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Then for a little bit more of a light-hearted autumn feel, we have Isabella Nag and the Pot of Basil by Oliver Darkshire. I read this earlier this year. Blew my mind. Blew my mind. It's so good. It's hard to explain. It kind of gives Terry Pratchett's Discworld meets Over the Garden Wall kind of vibes. It's incredibly funny and witty. It follows Isabella Nag, whose husband steals a magical tome from a wizard, and she decides to use a spell from that tome to be able to understand what the stupid donkey that keeps escaping from her farm, being able to speak to him. Just understand what he's thinking, what she's saying, but instead she just ends up being able to make her pot of basil speak, and a lot more crazy stuff from casting one spell causes for the entire village that she lives in. She is this ostracized, looked down upon woman who gets a little bit of magic at her fingertips, and just all havoc breaks loose, and it is so funny. It is so wild, so imaginative, very refreshing, and for my British followers, it is very British. Very, very British, and I just love it so much. And I think when I say it's very Terry Pratchett-esque, I mean that in the highest regard. It's probably the closest I've seen someone, not emulate is the wrong word because I do feel it's very much Oliver Darkshire's work, but it's the closest somebody's ever got to kind of the greatness of Terry Pratchett, because I feel like every time someone says, oh, I love Terry Pratchett, and you read it and you go, this is not Terry Pratchett, and you've told me this is Terry Pratchett. This is the closest I think somebody has got to where I would comfortably say to a Terry Pratchett fan, if you like that, read this. Then from all my straight horror fans, because I realise autumn is definitely the season of horror, I have You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Callum Bayron, a YA horror. It is so good. So look at these sprayed edges. It is very good. It is very short. I read this in one day. I read this 2 years ago for my 30 books in 30 days challenge, and I remember my boyfriend had friends around, and then I went hi, and then literally ran upstairs and finished reading this. It was that good. This follows Charity. Charity runs a horror experience, a slasher summer camp experience where people will pay to pretend that they are part of some like scary summer camp horror movie until it suddenly becomes real. It is so good. It's just a really, really fun time. It plays on horror tropes, horror movie tropes. It subverts some of them. It's really good. We've got a sapphic main character, which is incredible. A great little romance in there. It's just a really, really good horror book, and I really think people should read this. And then finally, for my historical fiction girlies, we have Escaping Mr. Rochester by L.L. McKinney. It is a retelling of both Wuthering Heights and Wild Sagacity. I'm just realising the reflection, can you see this? Of Wild Sagacity and Wuthering Heights. It follows Bertha and Jane, and it puts a sapphic twist on this, and it focuses on Mr. Rochester being a villain. So it's really, really good. It's a great historical book. It's a great, again, love the sapphic vibes in this. It seems to be sapphic autumn with these recommendations. It's kind of just saying, hey, Mr. Rochester's literally fucking insane for what he did to these women. Maybe they should just get together in a beautiful atmospheric historical setting that I think really pays homage to the original work while also being fresh and exciting and a little bit modern in the way that it goes about it, but without, you know, losing its classic touch. So good. I read this in autumn last year. It was amazing. It was one of my 5-star reads. Really, really good. And then we move on to some books. This is really fucking heavy, Jesus. Then we move on to some books that I think would be really good to read this autumn that I haven't read, so I can't vouch for in terms of my own opinion, but ones that I really want to get to. I swear to God, India, you need to get to these fucking books because I keep saying, oh, I'm going to read these. But, come on. We've got this. So first up, we have Mordew by Alex Phoebe. I said this at the beginning of the year. I said, I'm going to start reading more chunky fantasy. And I was doing okay. And then I was like, maybe I'm not going to do that anymore because I just haven't been doing it. I'm currently reading A Winter's Promise by Christelle Debo, which is not a chunky fantasy, but is exactly the kind of fantasy that I fucking love, and it's really good and I'd highly recommend it. Why am I not reading these chunky fantasy books? Why do I do this to myself? I'm always like, I'm gonna do it, and then I never do, and I just give in to peer pressure and read what's popular, or I always focus on my new releases when I just need to go back and read what brings me joy, which is chunky fantasies, and this is another one. So this is Mordew by Alex Phoebe. Phoebe? I'm so sorry, Alex. I've just read the blurb of this to remind myself what it's about, and all I don't really know. It's just about a guy called Nathan who works for a guy called Master of Mordew, in which he gets his power from feeding on the corpse of the god of the world, and that he's trying to bring down Nathan, and I don't really get it. But doesn't that cover Scream Autumn? I don't know what it is. Feeding on the corpse of the dead, this cover, and just everything being about death and strength and everything, it just gives... I want to wrap myself up in a big fucking blanket with a nice warm fire and a hot chocolate, as I've already mentioned in the intro, and just read this for a whole day. Like, I just need to just read this. I don't know what it is. It's just giving this perfect... Oh, I just look at this and I go, fuck me, this looks amazing. I also own the second one, so I need to read it. But this is Cities of the Weft Book 1. This blurb is saying a lot, but also not saying a lot at the same time. But I'm intrigued. Oh, and then God Was Murdered. Come on! Then, for all my romance fans out there, we have Drop Dead by Lily Chu. This is actually kind of similar vibes to... Is it Great Big Beautiful Life? Hold on. There's an Emily Henry book, which I'm kind of using to stack up this camera. Yes, it's very similar. Not very similar, but there's similar vibes to Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Follows two obituary writers, Wesley and Nadine, who are both trying to write the obituary of the very much alive, despite what they thought, Dot Verleen, who is a very famous but reclusive author, and they are basically competing to write her obituary, her life story, and then she randomly dies out of nowhere, and they're like, fuck, which one of us is going to be the one to write her obituary? And her estate says, you have 3 weeks, we're giving you the run of her really expensive house. You're going to use the things that you find in this house, her journals, things like that, family history, and you're both going to write an obituary and her life story. And whichever one of you writes the best one, you win. Sorry, that's a lie. She went to go write her obituary, found out she wasn't dead. Oops. And then this brought up to the surface a secret scandal in Dot's life, which is then heralded Wesley from whatever rival newspaper, and now he wants to find out what the deal, and then they're working together to find out more about her and get her life story and write her obituary. So yeah, it's just two competing writers / journalists. I really, really want to like this, and I don't know, just the vibe gives autumn. Drop Dead, obituaries, manor house. It's just giving autumn. Then we have The Estate by Denzel Mayrick. I read Denzel Mayrick's Christmas book. What was it called again? Where are you? Murder at Holly House. I read that last Christmas. It was so good. It was really, really good, and it's made me want to read more of his work. The Estate is just your classic modern manor house thriller, and I don't think you need anything more than that. Interpersonal, inter-family issues, inter-family dynamics, secrets, people lying, manor house where there's like barely any 4G, in Scotland. Look at that. Doesn't that scream autumn? And I know because I've read Denzel Mayrick's Murder at Holly House. He's a good murder mystery writer. He's a good thriller writer. He's also very good at atmosphere. Murder at Holly House was a perfect good of uneasy tension, but also Christmas cheer. And I think that's a very hard balance to work. So I have nothing but faith for this one. I need to read more thrillers and murder mysteries. So this is definitely one I'm going to be prioritizing this autumn. Then one I've already mentioned before, also in my 26 books before I turn 26. This is The Midnight Shift by Cheon Son Ran, which is an amazing sapphic vampire story. Now, don't do what I did, which is go into this and go, cool, sapphic vampires, separate. Sapphic vampire story. It actually follows a jaded vampire hunter and a detective who are working together to solve the mysterious deaths around the city. Obviously it's going to be vampires, so it's sapphic that happens to have vampires in it. So don't do what I did that was like, oh, sapphic vampires, and then it wasn't. Sapphic vampire hunters, murder, serial killer. It's just screaming autumn and October vibes. Okay? And then finally, a book that's actually out already, but I don't know, it just, again, I just feel like it fits the vibe. This feels more of a latter part of the year than an early part of the year. This is 7 Recipes for Revolution by Ryan Rose. This was coined as Attack on Titan meets Delicious in Dungeon. And it follows Paprick. Has to be a name based on paprika. Paprika? Anyway. He is a common butcher who carves slabs of meat from gargantuan monsters so elite chefs can prepare magic-granting meals. He likes to steal precious ingredients so he can learn how to cook and how to use magic and things like this. And one day his passion takes him a little bit further and he goes to the black market and buys some kind of mysterious, illegal, magical ingredients like the fucking idiot he is. And he cooks a dish, he eats it, and he turns into a big-ass fucking monster. And they're like, cool, we've got to kill him. And he's like, no, don't kill me, please. I will, if you make me an apprentice to your elite chefs, I'll show you the recipe I did that turned me into a big scary monster that you can use for war. Delicious in Dungeon meets Attack on Titan in book form, in novel form. It's very, very exciting. It's definitely something that I have never heard of before. Never in my life would I put these words together on a page. And that's what I love about fantasy, is we really can do anything. And as long as you've got fucking conviction and a good pen, you can pull this off. So I'm really excited to read this because it's so incredibly imaginative, so fresh and exciting and not been done before, which is what we need. Sometimes fantasy can be a bit carbon copy-ish. So I'm excited to read this. And as a fan of both Attack on Titan and Delicious in Dungeon, that sounds like a great day for me. So there we go. That is some great quick autumn recommendations for you. Hopefully some of this intrigues you and you decide to go pick some of this up. I'd be grateful if you did and you let me know. Autumn is my favourite time of year. Despite being a summer baby and a Leo at that, which means I'm a little bit more egotistical, I love the Burr months. I love September, October, November, December. We don't talk about January, February. No offence. Hate them. But I am an autumn girly to my heart and to my soul. So I do love a good autumnal reading session. So yes, there we go. Please like and subscribe and all of that fun stuff. And the next, I actually have no idea what I'm doing for my next video. So